Good afternoon. By the request of some of the people we have contacted and about the gem trade, and as I have indicated before, I'm sharing a bit of the more on the history of the last 45 years, basically using our business in China West as how we started with a very humble beginning and the gradual vertical integration from retail to wholesales to global distribution. In between, we were heading back to the Brazilian side from the overall and the graduate purchasing from monthly, bi-monthly, eventually, um, at least for the first 5 years, 6 years, that development is all takes a little bit the organization skill. Also, I'll be very frank. When we coming into this business, we have a notion what is going on, but everything was basically is from a very raw sense. Um, my first contact in São Paulo, Brazil, was Pedro Custodio, who used to have a stone in Santa Maria called Pedro Pedras. And then from that point, he invited me to go up to the Minas state with him. So we had gone into the long bus ride from Sao Paulo, 24 hours. In those days, stop in the first town called Governador Valadares, and then the next town, 120 kilometers further northeast, is at Teofilo Otoni. This in between these two cities basically had carried me for the longest time, almost at 25, 30 years, the two centers with the huge supply in the region, plus the center allow all the other new finding of gemstones, at least in this south central, southeast part of Brazil, with other minerals coming in from Goiânia, coming later on at Santa Terezinha with the mines in the province of Goiás, and other stones from Bahia, and stone coming in from the region, bringing in emeralds, and later on the related quartz. And let me repeat: the first basic five stones is the amethyst purple, and the yellow citrine is a heated amethyst, and then we have, away from Brazil, the olivine, the peridot, small stones, small sizes supplied by the Arizona region, almost around the reservation of the Apache in Arizona. And then garnet. Garnet was never much of a value, and the color is very dull. It's kind of a purplish red, and some of them get any kind of the color, good translucency where the light can go through. But regardless, in this development, and from this basic development where I have taken my focus with amethyst, in part is because the limited capital, what I have put my focus on this lower cost gemstones, and the amethyst all in all had always fluctuating between US $1 to $3 to $5, and then that is in the region of the Minas Gerais. And then eventually, with my personal investment, it's a time investment, travel, reversing back down to the southern part of Brazil from Sao Paulo, going down by flight or by bus, either way. I wanted to articulating the volume of production of the amethyst coming out of the province of Rio Grande do Sul, and in between western part, the northwest link up to the next province, it's the Santa Catarina or Paraná in the region, also have produced a good quantity of amethyst. However, the amethyst, many of you can see the visual, the Druzes, the big cathedral with the the crystal, but inside this cathedral, and where we have to break them up, hammer them down, and the preparation of this amethyst and this whole entire development, giving the longer history in the older days, where the Germans were indeed one of the early organizers, and in the use of the satellites, locating stones, locating woods, all this kind of information I was eventually gathering by the gem community in Teflon, which also has a very long historical presence between the Germans and the ethnic Lebanese. And in the region, also, I have mentioned that was the investment of the American Army Corps of Engineers after the Burma Trail, where the mica used to come down from the Burma Trail from India during the wartime. If you look into the old iron, you look at the old oven, the furnace, the translucent part, transparent part, most of the coverage to hold the heat were the sheets of mica. But then after the Japanese took control of the Burma Trail, the American intelligence starting to looking into Brazil, where they have the highest concentration of the mica. And on this comment about the mica, where many of the mining region, and one of the families still extremely prominent in the dealings with tourmalines, and the famous, known for the good color of the pink tourmalines, is the family of the Navy Stones. And I deal with some of the brothers here and there. It doesn't really matter, but what really happened is that after the mica was extracted, all the column deposits holding the mica, which are much softer, you can just basically hand shovel, you can dig up the micas. But all those pegmatite columns were all very much of deposit of tourmalines. And for the longest time, it was handling by the family of with a store called Amsterdam Sauer from Rio de Janeiro. And I personally have met Julio Sauer. We become very good friends, because behind in the back of the mining region, everyone seems to be very extremely friendly, casual, and this kind of collegiality frequently giving us many exchanges. After years, after I have established my distribution in the use of Hong Kong to work with Korea, Japan, Sri Lanka, Thailand, China, the SAR was actually asking me if we can collaborate and put maybe a franchise of the SAR group into Hong Kong, into possible China, Singapore. Well, by the logistics, by the way we have access to the stones and the cost of stones and the margin of charges, imagine in my days when beautiful, it's no big deal. A smoky quartz is a very popular stone. Maybe again, color stones are using their color to complement the ladies' hairstyle. Aquamarine is popular. Who doesn't like blue sky in the ocean? So aquamarina, or the ocean, the water of the ocean. Then smoky quartz is really a very insignificant, very inexpensive stone. I could one time buying cut stones for 5 cents a carat, 10 cents a carat, and yet you go to the different stores and retail area, you can see that as a $10 a carat price. But let me put this in a perspective. For the longest time, within the culture of the semi-precious stones and color stones, even when I established my first contact going into Hong Kong, was at one of the first shows in Hong Kong. I thought it was about 83, 85. But the first show in Hong Kong took place in Sheraton Hotel, where I have stayed for 15 years. And once I'm landed from the airport, then I'm into the hotel, which right on the road between the Nathan Road, the busiest street in Kowloon, and by the harbor, and next door to it is the Peninsula Hotel, and also, and further down is the YMCA. So physical location. A Sheraton become a place where I have stayed, where I order my tailors when I need my clothing, my shoes made, whatever to the fancy and the vanity of a young man. Sheraton was a very, very strategic location. And across from the Sheraton Hotel, the next to it, it was used to be called the Ambassador Hotel, and where there is a company called Low and Radar. And Mr. Ho and I have established also a direct contact with supply sources. In fact, Mr. Ho, Mr. Low, I'm grateful to, had sent me goods when he not even knew me when I was in the U.S. opening up the first 2 years of my business. He would just send me packages and packages. Of course, at that time, we do not have a matter of pick and choose and send back what we do not want, but 90% of the time, I found it very, very courageous and very with a lot of audacity. But between the one block between the Sheraton Hotel, looking into the Kowloon, the bay crossing from into Hong Kong, and then behind me is the Ambassador Hotel. Now it's totally taken down, it's demolished, and the building next to it is called the Chongqing. I'm trying to speak in Cantonese and also Mandarin. Cantonese is called Chongqing Mansion, and Mandarin 普通话 is called Chongqing, where they have the largest ethnic Indians, and also later on when the business we have engrossed with Southeast Asia, with my development helping Nigeria with the newly found aquamarine, and most of the Nigerian, I have provided them with the lodging or showing them that they can get by more economically. Just to give you a rate, at the hotel, whatever room they have, they can get it for less than $50 or $65 a night, and where they can sleep 4 people, 5. And in my hotel, on the average, Sheraton Hotel have always been one of the, not the tops, but it's 5-star hotel with all the good services. And the cost is around 100, 125, 150 eventually, and gone up to $150. By providing in this particular talk to many of the young American dealers, the sets of circumstances were different, definitely very much changed. But this one request came in to say, to continue to narrate and to share much of that basic family operation, the handling of the global travel, and all I will continue to share with you is the focus about logistics. How did I move myself from North America to South America? Of course, I'm grateful to my language skills and my fluency with Spanish and Portuguese and good, strong Italian, plus English and Chinese. And that alone had allowed me not just a simple communication, but within the Portuguese language, within the knowledge of the language, you pick up a lot more of the nuances of body language, which I have received my master's degree in 1974, and I have already built a counseling system called 3 C's. But from 77 with the business until now, I took these 45 plus years And my engagement with the Portuguese language in the area of the gemstone trade, plus eventually I've added other consultancy with the many foreign groups, and mainly with my engagement also with the Chinese. I have helped develop in with almost the first five um, arts and craft centers, starting from Hong Kong and then to Guangzhou, to the city of Shanghai, to Tianjin, and to Beijing. And with this, I have also walked the Brazilian side with the Banco de Boa Vista from Rio de Janeiro. Was just before the Tiananmen Square situation. We have a line of credit over $3.5 million to the Chinese when I was working with directly with the entity called the CITIC, China International Trade Investment Corporation. And then they were looking into both Brazil, and eventually they have embraced Australia. But nevertheless, this evolution of the retail wholesale mining, and then with the consultancy by the supply to these groups by way of a CITIC and by way of the contract negotiated with the Banco de Boa Vista. The Banco de Boa Vista had taken care of me very handsomely, and with a commission base of about 2%. Well, you talk about $3 million with 2%, is still very handsome fee when you talk about this is taking place somewhere between about 80, 81, 83. Now, more about the skill, the linguistic skill, the language skill. Other than that, the intuition, the looking into how I buy my stone, how do I use my first $3,000 to purchase the sort of gemstones that will give me a profit margin. Well, it's very simple. The $3,000, I look at what item I can make the best purchase, and what item would have given me a handsome, a good return. As it turned out, intuitively, I've always liked stones. If I will compare diamond to amethyst, or even tourmalines to diamonds and to other gemstones, eventually I handled in Thailand, be that the beautiful Burmese sapphires, that's even the sapphire coming from Sri Lanka with a beautiful cornflower blue, and eventually I got to handle, sell stones, the cashmere sapphire that sold for $400,000, rubies that in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and an array of stones, and including the owner of the biggest Alexandrite mine find or rediscover in the region called Nova Era. The family name last name was Chang Zhang, and then working with him, who happened to be also the dollar changer, who changes my money, my currency, actually treating my checks in Brazil, and eventually they have the system to send back to the U.S. cashing in, and by the handling of the check, which is absolutely amazing. That check, the charges of the checks I wrote to even to the gem sellers, the dollar can take a commission between 10-20%, as low as 5%. And this have taught me another lesson of the dollar dominant world. And when I really need a large cash payment, I want cash, American dollar cash in Brazil. I had my source in Sao Paulo only would charge me 1.5%, $50,000 all over. And this is a minor issue, but this is an issue that may not be in the horizon for the average dealers, and how to handle your transaction, your cash. So this is one of the one of the many factors: cash, travel, and the caution about travel. I never mind riding the bus 22, 24 hours by, and that is one of the most dangerous highway from Sao Paulo, first going through the part of the called the Triângulo Mineiro from Sao Paulo to Minas, and then goes straight west to the capital city of Belo Horizonte. And from Belo Horizonte to the cities of Tio, de Filatoni, and GV, Governador Valadares, is what is one of the most treacherous highway with very narrow paths. And when it rains, mudslides, some of the highway can be washed off. And according to the many Chinese people that I used to know, they were immigrants. Chinese came with the shipment of the wonderful embroidery, Chinese tablecloths, and whatnot, sell to the many brides to be, preparing for the young maidens in Brazil, in payments by the mothers, by the aunts, and they call it enxoval or the dowry. And this other group of Chinese just come to remind me, in that time of the 60s and the early 50s, what have taken place in the business and the commerce. So in that particular highway from Belo Horizonte going northeast to Tio and to GV is known to be the highway of the widowmaker, because many of the salesmen driving along with their cars, with their merchandise, either not familiar with the road, the situation of the road, the conditions of the road. Many this kind of Chinese small business merchants perished from that highway. And by riding on the bus for 24 hours, I have used it, even though there were flights directly from Sao Paulo, from the airport of Congonhas, directly into Teotoni, and then eventually Valadares. Or else when I visit my friends from Rio, I can fly from Rio likewise to go up to those two cities by direct flights. Nevertheless, my travel on the bus over this long period of time, on every stop, I have created a budget what I want to spend. I love these small bites, almost like the Spanish tapa. In every stop, the bus stop in a place with the open bars, counters. You can have the Brazilians pastel, or the Arabic food called esfija. You can have tortas. And then when I was a youngster in Brazil, I used to drink a drink of vitamina. Basically is avocado, milk, and sugar. And as a matter of fact, I have never taken the guacamole until just about 10 years ago. For me, avocado was taken with sweet, like a milk, like a milkshake. So, but on all this journey, I start to look at counting what is the cost of the cup of coffee, cafezinho, or I drink it cafe latte or cafe con leche, uh, uh, with with milk. And I'm still laughing at the terminology in Portuguese called pingado. It's like a coffee and milk with a limited amount of, or half of the milk and coffee, used in all the small areas of cost have always given me a very strong index of the dollar in my pocket and what is the cost of the inflation and how fast the inflation have gone up. So part of my development with this sense of a business is by riding the bus cost, the food, and I have always loved my forever girlfriend from Brazil the drink called Guaraná. And I only drink the Antarctica, even today. So the bus trip, and let me make another point of interest, especially to my friend requesting to be more detailed of the planning, purchasing, the culture of this cultural sphere of purchasing. In this segment, when you're being able to articulate what is my dollar going to buy in this particular trip, and many times this is years gone by when I have done wonderful purchase, and other times I only allow myself 3 days, and I usually spend up to 4 days. On an average trip, I spend between $20,000 to $30,000, and many times I come up with $7,000-8,000 that I could not spend at all because there was no more the kind of merchandise at the price that I have. Oftentimes, these are the factors being impacted by the presence of the arrival into these two towns of the Japanese, and also by the Germans, and by many other Europeans. Many have not developed a name or fame like me. They know me as Paulo Chinês, and for the last 45 years, I was probably one of the best known ethnic Chinese, and for many of them, never thought that I was from the U.S. Maybe I'm just coming from São Paulo. Time and again, what impact the price of my purchase, and how do I get by to make my purchasing many times because of the Japanese presence and because of the German presence. Sometimes they offer much higher prices because their lack of the language or know-how, or some are just novatos. We call it novatos because they're newbies, new people coming into the business. But regardless, I have made my friendships with a variety of these buyers. And here's another angle how I would have taken advantage of the set of circumstances when that happened. For one, the Japanese have their buying station pretty stable. And one of their workers, a young man, almost 9 to 12 years old, Salvador, even to today, he is my dear friend, my dear pal from Teofilo Otoni. And he makes extra money by folding white papers with the insert of the cotton. And this how the gem envelope, very popular use in Brazil early on. And even that with technology is changing the little plastic bags, you can just write on top of the white and insert the stone. But still, when the Japanese come into purchasing, let's say aquamarine, predominantly, and they purchase, the size of the aquamarines are generally small, somewhere between 1 carat to 3 carats. Every now and then they go up to a bit larger and larger and bigger stones. What the Japanese are having a cultural nuances is that they do not like to purchase pear shape, because pear shapes in the Japanese language meaning teardrops, that also meaning suffering. So from that vintage point, by knowing Salvador, when he sees me in the plaza, a small plaza in Teofilo Otoni, but you will find some of the family of the sloth from the trees for tourists who are curious. We have somebody go up the tree, pick up one of them, and do the show and tell. And it's kind of a funny one. But Salvador will always keep me an eye about who came in, who left, And then the sets of vendors that go in through the office, when they sell into the office to the from the street side, like my office, generally they will pay me a 5%. I never charge, which I'm different than most people in my office. Uh, my old partner, Buddy, I'm the Butch, he's a Sundance, another American gentleman by the name of Peter Rogers. We have shared our office for over 10 years, not in Tefilotoni, but in Governador Valadares. Most people know this pair of buyers. We have similar temperament, um, but we have also our huge differences. But in the purchase of the Aquamarines, when I find out all the parcels came, when the tremendous amount of pear shape got left behind because the Japanese, even they're beautiful, small, colorful, there is a lot price, means that the entire packet price or the individual pick price. But oftentimes after the Japanese, some of the parcels, they will offer me pay or not pay one price because we all know each other and what they've been through. And oftentimes I will be able to pick out of every pack of 10, 20, 30 stones, I can find 2 to 3 pairs, matching pairs. Now, this is one of the challenges because in those early days, there were yet standardized cut stones, the calibrated stones. As you all should know, when the stones are cut to a measurement to fit the jewelry manufacturers in the US for the longest time, and later on, after the mid 70s and 80s, it was picked up by the Chinese because the demand with some of precious colored jewelry, as I was one of the suppliers to Sharper Image, which they had never sold jewelry in the mountain, not in the early part of the history, but on the cruise ships, on the other manufacturers, they rather buy calibrated stones or standardized cut 5x3, 6x4, 8x6, 10x8, 10x12, and 12 by 16, and you went 13, 18, oval, octagon, and rectangular. There's a difference between rectangle and octagon. And there's another cultural nuances among the Japanese. Many of them prefer a stone to be octagonal, that means at 4 sharp corners. Other, interesting enough, they went rectangular. The knowledge about the customers like or dislike and what they reject, you can pick up from somebody's garbage. That's a wrong term. What they rejected, that become your prime pick. And that's all I do. I will ask Salvador, put on the side, work for me just to pick the stones. Even in open field, I have always been audaciously, when I bought stones in this open plaza early on, I really never give a rat's ass with the risk or danger buying in the open market. I got to see a lot of the vendors. Sometimes it is just greatly entertaining because this is the dynamic. When I buy in the open market, many of them got the chance to look at what I'm looking for. And there's something I'm looking for more specifically. In this case, I'm like any other buyer. I'm basically giving a message. I'm buying this quality, this color, and this price. And oftentimes, if you cannot meet my price, I'm sorry, don't even try. So next day, you will see another, another almost like another harvest of the seller vendors. They know what I want. They go back to any officers, to their family, to the girlfriend, to the mother, to whomever. They will bring in something that I was asking the day before. For example, the color of the kunzite, the size of the Andalusite. Andalusite with the two-tone colors looking almost like a poor man's Alexandrite. And to be honest with you, It's not because my budget and whatnot. In all my life, I have loved Andalusia more than I have cared for the expensive and thousands of dollars carats of the Alexandrite. And Shank, who happened to be my dollar trader in Governador Valadares in the mid 80s, turned out to be owning the largest Alexandrite mines in all of Brazil. And eventually, here his formation, his team up with the other Brazilians, such as Steve Pappas in Hong Kong, very well known Greek origins. Started, in Brazil, eventually went to Los Angeles, and from Los Angeles, Steve Pappas had gone into Hong Kong and become very stabilized and very successful in the group, what we call the semi-precious stone with origins from Brazil. In this particular segment, what I'm talking about, how do I use the Japanese purchase? Basically, I can pick up from their picked overs and take what I want, finding many, many matching pairs of pear-shaped aquamarines. And that was another smart package. When I have matching pairs, most of the retail jewelers would love to have them with them on their stock. And more particular when you can pick the pear shape into the calibration of cut 5.3, 6.4, 7.5, 8.6, 9.6, so on and so forth. And from the Germans, also after what they pick through the lots, and in general, a lot of aquamarine can be going from 10, 15, 20 carats to 30, 40 carats. In my possession, I still have 5 stones over 100 carats, 150 carats, 200 carats. Don't ask me reason and why, because I had the crystal, I had to cut it at a very advantageous point, not wanting losing weight, and also not wanting losing color. So I have these big stones being cut from the crystal that we operate and mine. But from the German side of the aquamarine picked, usually the bigger stones, 15, 16, 18, 20, 25 carat, 30 carat lots, the left behind are the sizes. Now, when we talk about the lot of the equal color, when you're having a larger stone, because the physical presence of a stone, it holds more color. Okay, many times we talk about how come the belly is so big. Well, very simple. We almost joking around. Almost today is politically incorrect about the behinds, about the bunda of the women. So we pick up a stone and said bundosa, a very thick, very heavy belly. From the German pick, you can find what I like about it is the parcel price of the stone color are pretty much similar. When the biggest stone holding color is normal, but one of the smallest sizes in 12 carat, 10 carats, which is totally ideal to the market in the US and mainly from the Midwest region. But then a stone at 10, 12, 13 carat, 14 carats is very saleable. And most of the stones in that particular parcel lot, because the crystal with the aquamarine, they cut in rectangulars or, I call it the octagonal 4-pointed. And from this discussion of the aquamarine purchase, now here's the people's question. Paul, what makes a good buy? I said, well, first, intuitively, instinctively, the market in the world. But because the relationship I built with many business retailers from Minnesota to Los Angeles to San Francisco to Naples, Florida, and then I have ventured to all those in between the suburbs of Chicago, and then Wisconsin Limited, but there were clients, and then all the way up to Red Wing, Minnesota, and so on and so forth. But I have met one very interesting young Japanese who also had lived in Brazil for many years, but never had the chance to go back with the same frequency because the flying time, again, you're talking about coming here for between 10 to 12 hours, another 10 hours to Brazil, plus the drive or the flight into the cities. We became a good team. That was before any internet, before the fax machine. He will call me and give me the sizes. And I know of his color, and I know of the cut he wants. This is like now I am giving an order, which I know if I can fulfill, they will pay. And it just so happened, I just using this as one of the interesting stories. This almost coming to the first 6 months, the early career, what Roberto, his name, asked me for the stones. And after I built some wonderful friendships with two brothers, Cotonino, and I just, what do you have? He said, you should buy aquamarine for me. I'm not just average vendors. We have the mines in Marambaya in the interior of Bahia. Come with me, have a weekend, enjoy. Don't stay in a hotel. Just come with me. You will enjoy the sightseeing. And there was a big parcel of rough coming out in the woods. You call it in the woods. Somebody else has it. You may want to buy the rough, and then I'll cut it for you. Well, anyway, the relationship we developed with such a trust. When I got the message from Roberto from Tokyo, I would just call Toninho Porto. I said, Toninho, I need about 10, 15 stones. I want a parcel of stone no bigger than 18 carats, but no smaller than 10 carats. Can you make the arrangement? This is the price I want to pay, somewhere between about $30 to $40. Well, I know directly I can sell to Roberto. If I get it for 40, I sell it for 60. Okay. And usually a parcel of the stones runs between about $35,000 to $40,000. As I have indicated before, I also have a discipline to handle how much I would spend on each trip. If I spend all the 40, I would depart. I may go home, take a rest for 10 days and 2 weeks, and I go back with the profit plus the cash I have available. Many of you may think this is silly. Other people will think about I'm being slightly chicken. But I think that discipline of the amount of risk I'm willing to take have been a good measure. And every trip when the order from Roberto coming from Tokyo, I know I have a winning purchase. His average purchase between 40 to 50,000. Figured out I have a margin very close to 30%. If at 50,000, I get 15,000. My trip cost me 2, already 10,000 in my pocket. Now, this is for me is a good business. We both focus. I know the supplier. If I give Toninho Porto and his brothers a 10-day, 15 days leeway, I generally will have a parcel bigger than what I expected, and they are zero qualm to let me take what I take. Oftentimes, they would say, Paul, take the whole parcel, pay me indefinitely. No, I thank them for the generosity, but more so we have created a very good relationship and friendship, and such relationship were never abused. And this is also, Ashley, my friend, this is part of the discipline along with your overall logistics. So from the time you landed, I do not structure what to buy. I know what I have to perform for the purchase of Roberto or any client at their request. I just buy either intuitively to get my first round of supply of the amethyst at a price that I can resell from 100% to 300% as a norm. And basically, with the packet, I come back to New York, go up to Richard Greenwood and 46th Street and say, okay, with the same rough, insulting tone of the New Yorkers, you want this or no? Get the hell out of here. I mean, we tell each other laughing and move on. From that stop in the 46th, I come right back home, and then I go on to either shipping per order by the stone request delivered. And also, I have taken advantage of the 40,000 plus insurance by the United States Post Office to have shipped our stone, again, in a very quiet manner to the entire US without any of extravaganza or the vanity of most men. Big man on campus. Sometimes when I have my crocodile cowboy booth made in Thailand, walking around Tucson in my booth, and every now and then we get in some argument with some people. I guess Kathy and the others, yeah, he's a little bit uptight. It must be those cowboy booths whatsoever. I'm not saying that I have not gone through my age of vanity and a little bit of a sense of grandeur when you're heading from Brazil through Africa and into Hong Kong, and then in other times we're flying into the different sites in China, being invited to visit the mining sites in Sri Lanka and Thailand, and the going into Cambodia by the border in the Golden Triangle, awaited to be invited to visit the opium fields behind the Mesai, our first factory. Those are the more adventurous events, but also very much humbling down. Every minute, every hour can be a high risk accident. And in my 45 years between Valadares and Tefilotoni, the two cities, I have seen more than 25 my suppliers vanished by the high-speed driving, by maybe drinking, and by any other of the events. And that's very lamentable. And so that basically had concluding the system of purchase, starting on the base formula, the basic supply that I can guarantee the profit margin with the presence and the existence and abundance of the amethyst in that region. And then I seek the secondary buys with the money left over from the first budget of the amethyst. And every now and then, as I will repeat, the bus ride back. If I do not find anything suitable, I still have money available, then I will look for special specimens. On any given time, I bought one of the crystal I took to Hong Kong was a 4.5 kilo aquamarine crystal, this size, yay big, absolutely blue. However, from Don Nino Porto, I was shown, Paul, this is not a fascinating gray aquamarine. This beryl, you look in the light from different angles, inside they're all fragmented. But the outside of the stone's beautiful, gorgeous, is natural termination from all points. It's worth for collection in a showcase in your window, and share the story about the big crystal. Something like that in a pure form would cost me 20, 30,000 at that time. Well, I bought specimen like such, or sometimes a 20 kilo or more, the collection, or 15 to 20 kilos of the different specimen of a tourmalines crystal, including when the first time came in the Paraibas, a crystal with 6, 9 crystals. Some are terminated, some are not. I just have it packaged, put it in the luggage compartment of the bus, take me all the way into Sao Paulo. Next day, rest up, packaging up, go to the airport, pay the extra weight, send it back. From a $2,000, $3,000 worth of specimen, often I generating $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 profit. You pay for my trip, you pay for all my expenses, and I have also the discipline to go into the Japantown, a Japanese hotel with the service of steam bath, massage, and a good meal with sushi and sashimi, and rest up for half a day. The bus arrives into Sao Paulo at 6, 7 in the morning with a taxi cab to the hotel, washed up, steamed up, and getting ready for the night flight of the same evening. Every step of the incoming, departure, leaving Brazil, the tension, the tabulation, the calculation, the physical handwritten notes of every item bought, and then the total weight, the estimate weight, and putting the marking on the stone in the paper, because the minute I'm landed with the broker awaiting in the New York airport, clear customs, connecting the flight, oftentimes from LaGuardia, from Kennedy to LaGuardia, come home, and then the next day, all the stone can be shipped out. I think all of the preparation from purchase to the packaging of the stone, landed, shipment, had to be done in a very coordinated manner. Do not get greedy. And this is how our business started, with the basic value starting at $1 per carat of the amethyst, with $3,000 cash, and then in less than 14 years, we become one of the best prepared, wonderful inventory, and with the loan from the Small Business Administration for $500,000, we were on our way, but I was not happy. 1991, with the arrival of the internet and with the learning of the spreadsheets and Microsoft Word, I was determined then this industry cannot be progressive under the current structure. There has to be a new infrastructure. And this is why today I am willing to open up gem files to the multiple of the people out there who are still engaged in this business. They don't have to have the wisdom of my age of 76, but I am fully prepared, engaged into the new era of the big data, big cloud for storage, AI, and the speedy computation in quantum counts. Plus, in every platform I have is basically into the modern era, but I'm still using the classical terms of all this platform. So my generation and the incoming generation can all be sharing. I thank you for your time, and I hope this will give actually some idea. And for those who want to be sharing more, you can anytime send your email request either by Paulo Yi, Paulo, my last name YIH at Gmail, or my new email just paul@paulyi.ai, and plus my phone. And I have every intention to make this industry transitioning from the MAPA to AI. I wish you a good evening, and I will do more talks based on your request. Thank you. Good night. Pronto!